Claire was the kind of employee every company said they wanted. Kind. On time. Careful with details. Always stayed late when someone needed help. She worked the front desk at a busy furniture warehouse, handling phone calls, orders, and walk-ins. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Claire was also 6 months pregnant. Her belly was showing now, her steps slower, her breath shorter. Still, she came to work every day with a warm smile and that same careful energy. But her boss, Mr. Thompson, didn't see her that way anymore. The office wasn't fancy, just a desk, some file cabinets, and the smell of ink and coffee. But Claire had made it feel warm. Pictures of her baby's ultrasound tucked beside the printer. A sticky note from her husband that said, "You're stronger than you know." Mr. Thompson barely noticed any of it. He walked fast, talked loud, and never asked how Claire was doing. She was just another name on the payroll to him. Until the day she became a problem. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. Rain tapped against the window like tiny warnings. Claire was reviewing delivery slips when Mr. Thompson walked in with a file in hand. "We need to talk," he said, not looking her in the eye. Claire stood up, slowly. "Sure, everything okay?" He didn't sit, he just dropped a paper on her desk. Her termination notice. Low performance, it read. Lack of energy. Decreased productivity. Claire blinked. "But I'm doing my job." He held up a hand. "You were fine before, but now you're distracted, tired, slowing things down. We can't afford that." Her voice cracked. "You're firing me because I'm pregnant." He shrugged. "I didn't say that. But you meant it," she whispered. Claire stood there, tears forming, her hands gently resting on her belly. "I need this job," she said. "I have a baby coming. I haven't missed a single day." Mr. Thompson crossed his arms. "It's business, Claire, not personal." That was when her phone buzzed. One short message. "I'm here, be right up. Jay." She took a shaky breath and sat back down. "If you're done," she said quietly, "I'd like to wait for my husband. He's picking me up." Mr. Thompson rolled his eyes. "Fine, just don't make a scene." 10 minutes later, the door opened, and in walked a man with a calm face, pressed shirt, and fire in his eyes. This was James Carter, Claire's husband. But Mr. Thompson didn't know who he was. Not yet. James didn't yell. He didn't even raise his voice. He walked up to Claire, kissed her forehead gently, then turned to Mr. Thompson. "You're the one who fired her?" Thompson nodded. "Yes, and it's already done. She was underperforming." James tilted his head. "You put that in writing?" Thompson scoffed. "Of course." James took a breath, then pulled out a card and placed it on the desk. James Carter, attorney at law, specializing in labor rights and employment discrimination. Mr. Thompson's face went pale. James reached into his folder and pulled out a copy of Claire's performance reviews. Glowing remarks from the past 3 months, all signed by Mr. Thompson himself. "She's been your best employee since February," James said calmly. "You gave her a raise 3 weeks before she told you she was pregnant." He pulled out a second sheet. "This," he said, tapping the termination notice, "is illegal under the Pregnancy Discrimination Act. It's also morally disgusting." I didn't mean," Mr. Thompson stammered. "Oh, you meant it," James said, sharper now. "And now so will the court." Claire sat quietly, watching it all unfold. The hallway had gone quiet. Employees who had once rushed past Claire, without a second glance, were now frozen in place. Some stood at their desks, others leaned out of breakroom doors. A few crept closer to the office doorway, watching through the glass without saying a word. They didn't need to, because they all knew something wasn't right. They had seen the way Mr. Thompson had treated Claire lately, how he passed her without a hello, how her usual tasks had been handed off to younger workers, how he made comments behind closed doors, but never quiet enough. Everyone had heard the whispers. "Her pregnancy is slowing her down. She's not sharp anymore. Once the baby comes, she's probably not coming back." And now here she was, standing with her husband, a man whose calm voice had just turned the entire office upside down. No shouting, no threats, just truth, spoken clearly. Claire didn't need anyone to fight her battles. but it felt good knowing someone finally was. Hey! James turned to her one last time. You ready to go? Claire took a breath. She stood slow but steady, as if rising wasn't just about her legs. It was about reclaiming something inside her. She picked up her coat and her small handbag, then looked at Mr. Thompson, not with fear, not even with anger, just clarity. You didn't just fire me, she said softly, but strong enough for everyone to hear. You woke up someone who doesn't stay silent anymore. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a speech. It was a line drawn in quiet courage, and then she walked out. No one clapped, no one cheered, but people stood aside as she passed, like the hallway was parting just for her. And behind her, James followed, not as a hero, but as a partner, the kind who knows that love and justice often walk side by side. What happened next didn't happen overnight, but it happened. 3 weeks later, Claire's story hit the local news. The headline read, "Pregnant worker fired, husband a labor rights lawyer, fights back." At first, it was just a few paragraphs buried in the business section, but then it spread. Online forums picked it up, mothers shared it, advocates reposted it, and people started asking questions. The story struck a nerve, not just because it was wrong, but because it was common. And Claire, she didn't hide, she stood tall, she told her story, and she wasn't alone. 2 more women from the same company came forward. One had been demoted quietly after announcing her pregnancy. Another was denied medical leave when her doctor ordered bed rest. They had stayed silent until now. With James by their side, they filed claims. And this time people listened. Mr. Thompson's company was forced to settle, not just with Claire, but with all 3 women. The amount wasn't small, but it wasn't about the money, it was about the message. Claire used part of her settlement to open a small design studio, something she'd dreamed about for years, but never believed she could afford. She painted the walls herself. She hung her baby's ultrasound on the wall behind her desk, and the first thing she put on her door, "Respect starts here." As for James, he didn't stop. He took on more cases like Claire's. Women, veterans, workers pushed out quietly when no one was watching. He didn't seek headlines. He didn't take big fees. He just showed up, day after day, with truth in his hands and calm in his voice, because to James, justice didn't need to shout. It just needed to stand its ground. He didn't walk in with anger. He walked in with truth. And sometimes, that's the loudest voice in the room.